Yes, hello guys, and welcome to the show. As you can see, I'm joined by these international legends, Shreyas and Adam. They'll be joining me to discuss some of the topics you lot have sent in. But before we get into that, Adam, how are you after the Arsenal defeat? I haven't spoken to you yet, have I? So, how are you feeling, mate?
I'm not surprised at all, let's be honest. Probably something that we've seen coming as well. David team assembled, young enough team, they're playing for the manager. Our lot aren't, so I'm not surprised, and that's top four gone. Just like that, it's better to just rule it out now.
Yeah. In fairness, I was kind of like, after, I think it was the Southampton 1-1 in January, I was like, these fuckers can't even, they're just disappointing, aren't they, to say the least. But yeah, Shreyas, thank you for joining us today. Are you looking forward to the show? And how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fairly well. Looking forward to the show because whenever we are up for a show, that something or the other does come up for us to cover about United, because any result, any kind of performance we put in, something crazy just comes out of the locker room. So, I mean, it's good that we have a platform to discuss this.
Exactly. And this is more positive. This is a much more positive show than the reaction after the Arsenal game. I can promise you that. So, at the start of the week, I asked you guys to send us in clips talking about Manchester United, anything at all from the players, manager to the board, and that's exactly what you have done. So thank you for sending them clips in. We're going to get into them clips shortly, and there's a few juicy topics to discuss. So just stick with us on that and we'll get into them. But first of all, we need to get through some topical stuff, as always. Even more of a soap opera of Manchester United that's coming out recent. So let's get into the first one. So it says, this is from S. Bates people. No idea who they are, if I'm being completely honest. But they've said, Rangnick claims some United players have blatantly ignored his instructions when he's given them a pattern of play to employ in certain games. Shreyas, players down in tools under another manager. My question for you is, why will it be any different under Ten Hag, as we've seen this behaviour kind of in repetitive patterns, haven't we?
Yeah, but I think that these players are really stupid because I don't know if they grasp the idea of the role that Rangnick is going to be in the summer, because Rangnick has worked closely with these guys, and in all these press conferences that he has done post the Liverpool match, he's clearly said it to the fan base that most of these players are going to be gone. I mean, things coming out like the only reason that Rangnick hasn't really been able to drop Maguire is because of because that the club has invested a lot in him. Same goes for Marcus Rashford as well, and that's why he has been struggling with it. And it's just that finally we finally have someone who can actually spit the facts out for us, because we as fans can actually just speculate, and it was a case for us that the managers weren't really able to give us a true picture as to what was happening at in the locker room and on the pitch as well. But this guy has actually been able to lay it point blank for us whenever he comes on for a press conference. I mean, the way he presents himself as well, no matter what question is asked to him, he's pretty much unfazed and he's confident while he's speaking about anything. So, I mean, I think Rangnick, even as a manager, I think he has checked all the boxes. I mean, he's tried. I think he's tried every possible way as to how he would play a team with the back five, the back four, as a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. He has tried everything. But the thing is that these players, they don't want to adapt. They are too conservative in their approach. They don't want to put in the work. They just want to be in that protective bubble where even if they are performing wrong, they want someone else to take the heat for them. And Rangnick isn't going to be a person like that. And same goes for Ten Hag. They aren't really gonna be playing favorites. And we have seen that as well. The way we have seen Elanga coming into the first team, and glimpses of him actually dropping players like Rashford, even Maguire, and even in the midfield, he has been shuffling a lot. Obviously, with the lack of options he's faced a lot of troubles doing it. But I would still say that squad rotation is one of the things that Rangnick has done really, really well, given the amount of options that he has had. But I think it's high time that we say that this whole thing is on the players and not on the manager, because whenever a new manager is going to be coming in, there is going to be a change. A manager isn't going to come in and play football the way a player wants. He's going to play football the way he wants, and he would like the player to adapt to it, not himself to adapt to a particular team. And if the players can't get in their heads, they're obviously going to go out. And that's what he is pretty much laid out for us as well, that these players aren't ready to put the work in. Some of them are, but because of that, we've seen a lot of things going on. They don't look like a team when they are playing on the pitch either. So I think Ragnick has pretty much called out these players who like to be in that protective bubble. Even if they're called out, they've got, I don't know, their representatives or people who keep on texting people that shouldn't really come out like this about him and stuff like that, because these guys have been protected a lot in the Oli, because he used to take all the blame, not these players. And now when Ragnick has come in, he's pretty much shifted that system completely. So these guys are finding it hard because after every game, the heat is on them, not on the manager.
They was all protected under Ollie, weren't they? That was the thing.
Yeah,
And Rangnick's just coming now, ripped the plaster off, and was just like, boom, exposed. All these players, like, especially the defensive line now, they are all exposed so much, and you can see the priorities.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it just goes to show that even when Ollie was here, it makes sense why he used to play with a potential back six with McFred, because these players can't work in a back four, whether it's Luke Shaw, whether it's Maguire or Lindelof or even Wan-Bissaka. These guys can't function as a back four. They aren't good enough to be a back four, again, in a Premier League level. So, I mean, I respect Rangnick for all the honesty that he has showed us, but I would still say that when Ten Hag is going to be coming in, it's good that he's going to be having a lot of power and free hand with the player he wants to stay and the players he wants to loan out or just sell, because that's the kind of ruthlessness that we've been missing. Because if we look at our rivals, be it Chelsea, be it even Manchester City, they've let go of players like Aguero, they've let go of players like Willian. They've players that have actually been a big part of their recent history when it comes to silverware. But when it comes to decision making, they have been pretty ruthless, and they have brought about replacements that have actually been much better than MS well. So I think we need to be ruthless, and especially against players who haven't really been cutting the mark for us on the pitch or off the pitch. Even disciplinary wise, I would say a lot of players are a big question mark. So, I mean, I think that it was a good move by Ragnick to actually ask for that role higher up in the board when he was coming in, because if it would have been a situation where he was just the interim manager and looking to be a permanent manager for us next season, it would have been much, much worse for us, because it would just have been the same story all over again for us for a whole other season, because it would have been just an open book for us. So I think this short reign of Ragnick as a manager, I think it's helped out a lot, because now in the fan base knows which player do we need to actually back and which players do we actually need to criticize.
100%. Sorry, I'm just plugging me laptop charger. Yeah, I agree with everything you've just said there. I think Arsenal did the same thing when they got rid of Aubameyang and people like that, and it's just like, just get rid of the toxic players. But just sticking with the players, I do. This has to be the most uninspiring team we've ever had in it. Like, just the amount of shit that comes out from the dressing room is just unreal.
I can't remember it being this bad ever. Like, and we've seen the highs, fair enough, through the years, but many, many lows, and it hasn't been lower than this. I can't remember it being this bad. It's, as you said, the most unlikable bunch of players we've ever had, as far as I remember. Players are now coming out and pundits too, and naming players who are the leaks in the dressing room these days. So, like, they're not afraid to, openly say, "Oh, I'm the leak" at this point. And there's going to be massive, massive changes coming in the summer, and I'm genuinely can't wait for it, because it's getting to the point now. The fans are chanting, "You're not fit to wear the shirt" in the grounds, and I haven't seen the whole crowd sing that.
Like, you see it sometimes with individual players, but as a team, when they're like going in on everyone,
not one player was safe from that chant. And fair enough, we won that game, but the performance was nowhere near good enough. And especially with the protests happening at the time, tension is really, really high at the club right now. So you need to be showing that you're putting your life basically on the line when you step onto that pitch. You had to give everything for the club. And then the fans will back it. Fair enough, you mightn't be the best, most skillful technical player. But if you play for the badge, fans recognize that and they respect that. And they're not going to come down as hard on you. But these players who think they can just show up, do nothing, and have low expectations. This is Manchester United. We should be up there competing for European Cups, for league titles. But they're happy where we are now. And we're not even, in the top 4 in the league. And they just need, as Shreya said, this protect the bubble. It needs to burst.
That's why Rangnick needed to come in it. Like, I think it was still Ollie in charge, as I said before, like all these issues would still be under like cotton wool, and a lot of us wouldn't know about him. They'd all be protected. Like Ollie would be lying in his press conferences, always protecting him and stuff. So Rangnick just come in and said, "Fuck that! Do you think I'm having my reputation ruined by these delinquents? Not a chance." He's come in and just completely like made it raw, and everyone, all the issues are there to see now. So at least the main step of sorting the problem out is identifying the issue, which Rangnick has done. He's opened it up. And then you take it step by step. That's why he described it as like open heart surgery.
Yeah,
because that's how that.
You cut the head of the snake off, especially who's the worst in that dressing room. You get them out, and I think arguably the worst one is going to be going anyway. A few people have quoted saying who the specific individual is, but Ralph Rangnick, he might finish as the worst win rate for any Manchester United manager since Ferguson's retired. But have you noticed the fans haven't turned on him, and he is the lowest?
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reason for that.
And that leads me on to my next topical item, and this is from the same people, SBH_people. And it says, after talks with John Murtaugh and Richard Arnold, Rangnick has been asked to hand Erik ten Hag a brutal, no-holds-barred rundown on the players the Dutchman will inherit this summer. So we know the amount of issues that are at Manchester United. We spoke about it countless times on this show, Shreyas, but when Ten Hag walked into the door, into the dressing room, I don't think he realises how much, I think he'll know, but like Rangnick, when he came in, he was like, oh my God, like this is massive. This is a big, big problem. So he's going to have a lot of stuff to deal with when he walks through them doors, isn't he?
Yeah. And since Ten Hag has been announced and he has actually, brought through the kind of ideology and the kind of football he wants to bring to the club, there have been a few reports that there already been a couple of conflicts and clashes with the board with Ten Hag. So I think this ruthless, no holds barred power that Rangnick and Richard Arnold and the guys are giving him, I think it makes much more sense, because then he'll have a free hand when it comes to dealing with these players, because these guys have had enough opportunities, I would say. Most of them have been here for, I guess, about more than 2 seasons now. So it isn't a case of whether they have adapted to the league or not, because they have been putting in crap performances week after week after week. And one of the things is that we don't really see them putting in the effort as well. I mean, the bare minimum is we've had much weaker teams, I would say, compared to this team that we've had this season. We've had much weaker teams if you compare it to post-Ferguson era. I would say that if you compare it to the teams we've had, this is still a far better side. But the problem is that this squad isn't a team. Whenever it comes out to the pitch, it's just like we mentioned it a lot as well, that it's either just Sancho and Ronaldo working as a team, and the rest of them are just walking around like headless chickens. So, and another thing is that what we've seen as well, I would say it's not just Bruno, but there are a lot more players, I would say, that completely ignore the pace of the game and I would say the intensity of the game, and just go up over to the referees and start moaning and complaining. Even when I would say Varane as well, in the last game against Arsenal, he was complaining with the ref, and he had played the ball on. So I think discipline is one of the things that we lack in that locker room. And I think Ten Hag would be able to bring that about very, very well, because now he'll have his own staff as well. I mean, no Darren Fletcher, I think that's a big, big win for him, because even Rangnick has come out and said, I don't want this guy to be shouting at my team clearly. And he doesn't know what actually Darren Fletcher's role is as a technical director, because he isn't doing a role of a technical director for us. He's basically working as an assistant manager.
I've just got a feeling Ten Hag's going to walk in and see Darren Fletcher and be like, just grab that mop and bucket over there, mate, and just run over there. I'll sort the rest out, don't you worry about it. But
Nick,
this list,
this is an exclusive. Yeah, it's an exclusive. Real Red Stock have just been handed the list. Actually, it's actually crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What does it say? They're all shy, Ralph Ragnick. Yeah. That's exactly. Well, yeah. My next question was, what do we think this list consists of? And yeah, it's basically he's shit. He needs to go. He's on his last contract. He's the one doing all the leaks. This guy application isn't right. This guy's a world beater, but he's dragging the rest of the team a lot. Like, that's what I think is pretty much going to be on it. But yeah, do you think that's what's going to consist on it? Just basically, a lot of them need to go.
Pretty much, yeah. It's the best opportunity for clear out right now. Contracts running out, maybe final year, so you can sell them for a bit cheaper now than you would typically. The only issue is our wage structure, which is ridiculous. And are these players going to take this pay cut? They're probably not. They'll just sit in the bench and they'll fester because they're that toxic. They're like our former manager said, many of them are a virus. Well, he was mentioning one, but it's now spread in the club, and many of them are the virus now, and the club is sick from head to toe. And,
that's why mold is the perfect analogy for it, because no matter what you do with mold, no matter what you can't just get rid of it like that. And that is the virus that's at United. Like, you have to knock the whole thing down in order to build it up with a strong structure and have young, hungry, talented players. Is the reason why Ryan always said he likes players in the first year of the contract or second. It's because they will play to that philosophy. They will work towards it. If you've got players that are in the 30s or whatever, and you're trying to bring in they've seen it all before. Maybe sometimes they don't like it and they won't fully commit to it. And that's the exact same problem at Manchester United, I believe, anyway. So, absolutely. I just want to move it on very quickly to the last topical item, and that was Paul Scholes was on punditry after the Arsenal game, and he said Jesse Lingard has mentioned to him and said, I'm sure he won't mind, but Lingard said the dressing room's extremely toxic. So that's another damning. And not to mention the McTominay thing. I don't know if any of you have seen that's come out in the papers as well. Have you seen it with Scott McTominay? No. Yeah, no. He was going in. He was saying it's so bad from even some of the staff, the coaching staff that are there, the people that are upstairs. Like, he gave an interview into a news article, and you should go check it out. It's even worse than what Lingard said, basically. So all the leaked and stuff that was coming out were probably true, and then they agreed to keep it under wraps for a few months whilst he was still in a few competitions, like back at when Rangnick first initially came in. But like a constant bleed, it'll always come back. Like, you can sort of shove it down, all these issues that you've got, and try to keep it under wraps, but ultimately it's always going to rise to the top, and they're always going to come up. And right now, towards the end of the season, it's like we got to the last strap of the bandage and it's almost off. Do you know what I mean? That's what it feels like. Yeah. And then the summer, it's just going to be like, boom, that's it. And that's why I think the summer's going to be so interesting. But just your thoughts on both your thoughts very quickly, if you can, on what Lingard said about the dressing room.
I mean, I think that it's basically true, because even as fans, we aren't really in and around the dressing room, but we still see it on the pitch whenever these guys are walking out. And I mean, even before the match gets started, you could just see those frustrated looks on a few of their faces, even though the match has just started. And it's no joke that something really, really big is going on in that locker room. And it could have to do with, the groups that have been formed there. I mean, we've seen that Rashford and Ronaldo definitely don't get along too well, even on the pitch. And there have been a lot of rumors that something between them is kind of off. And and I would say that it might be a case where it could be a case of, authority or power over the locker room. You never know. But there is a divide in that locker room. And I mean, even though Lingard, as we know, his head really isn't at the club, but he's pretty much put it out really clearly that things aren't really good in the dressing room. People are struggling, the staff as well, everyone is struggling in there. And I think McTominay has then put it out in the best way possible that it's actually really, really bad. And I mean, I do believe that it has got to do, I mean, in this situation, a captain of a club needs to step up, I would say, in order to get the locker room together, in order to get these players and these minds on the same page. But obviously, Harry Maguire is failing at that. And I would even on the pitch, you don't really see Harry Maguire doing much. Even when he is on there, you would still see Cristiano Ronaldo actually shouting a lot more, getting energy levels up, getting everyone on the same page. But I mean, I think even if it's not Maguire, somebody needs to step up in the locker room, because if we pretty much written the season off, most of these players as well have written the season off. So why not actually start seeing it in the light of who's going to be there in the next season and start playing for that? Because when Ten Hag is going to be coming in, there are going to be big changes, because even before he's come in, there are a lot of rumors that he's going to strip Harry Maguire of the captaincy, and if that does happen, we all know that Harry Maguire wouldn't be seen starting for the club week in and week out.
I mean, Adam, it must be frustrating for the players that are actually trying at the club, that are like grafting.
Yeah.
When they're hearing all these rumours come out, they must be dying to say something, innit, Adam? Like if you're a Langer or you're Ronaldo or you're someone like this who's putting in the work and actually putting good performances, Sancho, for example, putting in good performances on the pitch, and you're getting people saying the dressing room's a mess, it's toxic, like it must be like annoying, innit? Surely.
It has to be. You're putting all this work in, and then someone is coming out and saying that, oh, we're just not working together, and they're trying their hardest, to give performances on the pitch, and then they're probably also trying to pump up the dressing room. But there's a clear divide in that dressing room, and we've all known it all season. It just there's no team chemistry at all. There was a clip I seen. I was actually when I was at the game when Ronaldo got his hat trick. Harry Maguire didn't even celebrate that. He didn't even celebrate. I don't know if you've seen the clip. He just stays in the half. He doesn't put his hands in the air. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't.
And I've seen them two bickering on the pitch loads of times. If you go watch them at Old Trafford, you see them going on at each other. And that they're not the only two. There's loads of players throughout the club who do that. So there is definite like holes in that dressing room, 100%. And as I said, Ten Hag's got a massive job when he goes into there.
When there's holes, there's leaks, and our leaks.
Exactly. Now, let's get into the main part of the show. It's the reason why we're here. Topical items are done. Let's just dive straight into it. No messing about. So the first clip is from News Greg, and here's what he says.
My name's Greg, and my rant is going to be about Paul Pogba. I've had enough of Paul Pogba. Over the seasons he's been with the club, I just feel that he probably should have gone 2 or 3 seasons ago. Really, we're getting sometimes a quarter of the season he's injured every season. We signed him feeling that we were going to sign a world-class player. Hasn't turned out like that at all. The damage is done. He has to go the end of the season, and no chance of renewing his contract, and really move on and try and bring in some kind of fresh players, really, players with the right attitude. The end of the season is going to be a lot of changes. I can see a lot of the players moving on. Matt has already announced that he's moving on. Paul Pogba, for me, is definitely one that I feel that he definitely needs to go. Thank you.
Yeah, as a regular watcher of our content, and as you can see there, is talking about Paul Pogba and the frustration he has with him. The key things he talked about was he's always out with injury. We signed him for £90 million and he hasn't justified it. Hasn't worked really over a 5-year period. The damage is done. Let him go and bring in some fresh faces. So that's what News Greg has had to say. Thank you for sending that in. My first question is, lads, to you guys. What is your assessment of Paul Pogba's time here? And I know you could probably go on for a long, long time, but let's try and keep it short and sweet if we can. Shreyas, do you wanna go first?
Yeah, if you see his journey with United, I would say it's been below par, because honestly, I would understand that he hasn't really had the kind of partnership like he has for the national team with N'Golo Conte at United, but I would say a lot of players except him haven't really had that partnership either, and they've still been able to at least shine, and when they have shined, it has been they have been able to at least carry the side, or at least they have been able to shine in their position. And with Pogba, it's always been the situation that when he did start, I think his best trio with the midfield would have to be Herrera, Matic, alongside Herrera and Matic, because it actually looked like he had that cover where people would actually make up for his defensive errors. But now, because we don't really have that anymore, and Matic is no longer the player he was, a lot of his sides where he lacks are actually getting much more and more exposed. And another thing is his best performances have actually come for us at left wing, not in the midfield position. If you see, he's been much more influential from that winger spot. And that's one of the things I would say about Pogba is that I think when it comes to his role, he's very, very conservative. He can only work, according to him, he can only function as a six. But if you're a player at Manchester United, you have to be versatile enough in order to switch up and be able to move according to transitions. Because even when Bruno came in, our midfield was absolutely shambolic. We practically didn't really have any midfield. When he came in, we had Fred and Pereira for most of the time, and then McTominay came in, and he wasn't really doing anyone any that midfield wasn't doing any favors to us either. But Bruno was still able to, I would say, carry that side for quite some time without Pogba as well, because Pogba was injured for quite some time, and Pogba came in after the lockdown, but he still went out with an injury. So
I instantly, sorry to put you in there, Shreyas. I instantly think of someone like Gerrard at Liverpool. Gerrard was in I hate to use the comparison because it's Liverpool, but Gerrard was in a shit Liverpool team for ages, and he carried them on his back. Like, if you just remember the final, I know they had some good players in that team, but Gerrard in that midfield absolutely carried them, and that ain't Paul Pogba's attitude.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Adam, do you think he's justified his £90 million price tag?
No, clearly not. Like, we signed him at a young age, to be fair. We let him go at a young age too. So we were paying for what could potentially happen in the future. But you have to remember, when he was at Juventus, he was paired with the likes of Marquisio. I think Arturo Vidal was with them at that time as well.
Yeah, and Pirlo as well.
He had some quality experienced Italian and obviously the Chilean midfielders. But United have never had that. We haven't had a stable midfield in what feels like ages. Like even in Ferguson's last season, he had to bring Paul Scholes back. So when's the last time we had a functioning midfield? It feels like an eternity.
Scholes and Keane, isn't it? Yeah. It feels like
Scholes and Keane.
Like a solid partnership in there. That's what it feels like. I know you had, but even under Fergie, like Anderson and Cleverley, you had that. But like, you talk about a solid world-class partnership in midfield, probably Scholes and Keane.
Yeah,
honest.
Exactly. So he definitely hasn't lived up to the price tag. Maybe we should have been negotiating a bit better. Like, who else was in for him around that time? We could have got him for a lot less. I think like 20 million less, because I don't think there was any other clubs really competing, was there? At the time, Madrid had Cruz, and they had obviously Modric.
They had James Rodriguez as well.
James Rodriguez too. Yeah, they signed them around that time, didn't they? So they spent big bucks.
The same price. Yeah.
So they weren't in for him, and that's the only realistic other club you could maybe see going for him. No, Bayern Munich weren't in for him at all as well. So he hasn't come near his price tag. He only seems, he's showed a glimpse of what he can give us. But for me, I think the style of play he likes to play, it doesn't suit the English Premier League. It doesn't. It's, he slows everything down. United are famous for winning the ball back, counter attack, put the dagger in fast. But he seems to, just hold it back into the players, ball rolling, like simple passing. It doesn't work in the English Premier League. He only performs when he's screaming Ali Le Bleu. And I know I'm wearing the shirt now, but that's the truth.
I think he'd suit a team you mentioned then, like you mentioned Modric and stuff. I think he'd suit Madrid in La Liga.
Yeah.
I think a team who 9 times out of 10 have got possession of the ball, they dominate it, and he can really get on it and pull strings for the likes of Vinicius and Rodrigo and people like that. I think he would do well there. The fact we let him go for free, signed him again for nearly £100 million, plus all the wages that we paid him, and then let him go for free. That is such a United thing to do. That is such a United. And that's one massive highlight of how poor our club is run, that you can let someone like that go on a free, that you can't even recuperate £50 million for him. Like, it's so stupid.
The only advantage is if we let him go, it's almost he brings with his own fan base. He does. So the Player FC, I think that'll be one chunk of the Player FC gone from the club, and I'm all for that. I know. I gotta be careful here. Yeah, you gotta be careful, especially on Twitter these days. So I might just keep it short on that.
Yeah, we all know what Twitter's like, don't we? Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, exactly. Shreyas, he said in numerous interviews, he's always been played in multiple positions. Do you think that makes a difference for his consistency? Do you think he's got a point in that?
I mean, he definitely has been played in multiple positions, but if you have to compare the appearances that he has made in certain positions, he's still made his major appearances as a number 6, not as a winger or even as an advanced midfielder. And even when he has, I mean, if you could count like 50 games, if for example he started as a number 6, I would say only in 10 or 15 he's been able to be consistent for us, because with Pogba it's always about patches. He's on a good run for about 3 to 4 games and then he falls off massively, and then he gets injured, then he comes back, he plays well, drop off, another injury. It's always been the case.
It's just patches, isn't it? It's patches here and there. Like you can never get a full round circle, like one full season. If you sign a player for that amount of money, you wouldn't really expect him to be unfit as well, not being consistent enough as well when he's there. Because if you're signing a player for about 90 million, you would want him to be consistent. You wouldn't want him to be a pillar in that team, not someone who is going to be able to play better if people around him are going to be playing better. We need a player who is able to set the standards himself, and people are able to grow into that energy. And Pogba definitely failed in that role. And I would say Bruno succeeded in that role when he came in, because he made players better. He made Martial a lot better when he came in. He made Pogba a lot much energetic when he came in as well. And that's what we expected of Pogba. But it didn't really work out for him. Absolutely, I agree with you on that. Adam, why is he so good for France? I know you kind of touched on it then, but so bad for us. Do you think it's the players that he's surrounded by? Is that it? Or is there more to it than that?
It seems like he has more freedom in that role in France anyway, because he has a lot more defensive, stability. He hasn't really had it at Manchester United. I think he had the man of the match performance in the World Cup final. So he has it in him on his day to be, one of the best players in the world, you could argue. Maybe the best midfielder in the world if he actually just pulled up his shorts. But a lot of the time he has his shorts down here at Manchester United. The thing is with France, it's a very tough one. Obviously, he does have the players around them.
They have absolute superstars, don't they? You've got Mbappe, Benzema, Kante, Tchouameni. You've got nearly the best, Kingsley Coman, Ousmane Dembele at times, Griezmann. They've got so much talent in that team. Even the defense, they've got a number of centre backs to pick from. The depth is ridiculous. So,
and the guys that don't even make the squad, they get into any other international team. It's crazy. French football, they're onto a winner at the moment. They just seem to be pumping out some.
I just set up a scouting network there, mate. I just literally set one in there, set one in Portugal, because there seems to be quite a bit of talent in the Portuguese league, that's going through that. I just set up 2 scouting networks there, and just let them blossom.
Exactly. And the thing with the manager too, obviously, he's a good relationship with, I think it's Deschamps, isn't it? Current manager. Yeah, Deschamps. So he's a good relationship with him. We never actually I haven't analysed the stats of international football ever, actually. So it'd be interesting just to see, pass completion, how many touches he gets when he's in the French team, especially when he's surrounded by stars. Is he losing the ball as much as he is at United? Maybe he's getting bailed out by the good defenders behind him. So I've never actually looked into them stats, but it's chalk and cheese, the performance. It's so different. He just feels more confident maybe with the players around them. But for a 90 million player, you had to be the most confident going onto the pitch. Absolutely. Even if you had to live up to that price tag.
That's right. I said he should infect the team. He should make people better around him. He shouldn't need people in order for him. That to me screams out a luxury player. And right now, especially the way the club is at the minute, we can't have luxury players. We can't have them. So, 100% agree with you on that. Let's get into the next clip then. And this is Danny Weir talking about Bruno Fernandes. Let's see what he's got to say.
I want to speak about Bruno Fernandes. I think his game's dropped massively in the past 6 months. His passing's been all over the place. He's more interested in sitting on the ground, arguing with the referees. And I think he could be a good player, but I think he's getting a bit frustrated and it's coming out in his game, eating more and more every week now. And if I'm honest, I've had enough of it.
So, as you can see, a few key points there that Danny's talking about regarding Bruno Fernandes. He says his game has dropped massively. He's passing all over the place, arguing with the referees constantly and moaning all the time. And he could be really good. He could be a really good player, but needs to address these issues. Shreyas, what do we think has been the main key to Bruno Fernandes' downfall?
I mean, I think one of the things has got to come down as to what is going down in that locker room, because ever since the leagues have been coming out for us, we've seen that a lot of players have actually fallen off a cliff. One of them is Bruno Fernandes, because last season he was arguably one of the best midfielders in Europe. He broke down records for goal scoring in the Premier League, and we all know that his true capability and true potential is still out there. We have seen it, and right now I think he's struggling because of the fact that there's obviously a lot of pressure on him, because he obviously hasn't really been delivering for us. But a lot of it also has to come down to how the staff is running the club, and also how it comes down to these players as well at times. Because if you see Bruno's game, I would say before, even after Rangnick came in for quite some time, when he did shift to a 4-3-3 with Bruno playing as a 8, he was playing a lot better. You could see that he was creating a lot of chances every single game for us. Even in that Watford game, he did miss a lot of chances, but he was able to create those chances as well. So I still see that there is absolutely I would say a very gifted player in there. And under Ten Hag, I think he'd be able to re-emerge, and I hope so, that he re-emerges as well, because he's just signed a new contract with us. And if I would say that if he is able to regain that form which he was in last season, with the Ten Hag managing the side, I can say that he could prove out to be one of those players where he could be able to build his team around, because on his day, Bruno is able to completely shift the course of the game. And we've seen that it just takes 30 seconds for him to completely change the complexion of a match. He's that capable. So I think this season, definitely, it hasn't been the best for him. When it comes to his penalties as well, we see him really shaky. And at times he's trying a lot, I think really hard just to make his impression felt in the game. So I think if he is able to just go down to the basics, get his passing right, because we've seen that he's a great passer of the ball. He can do those long balls as well, just like Pogba does. And we've seen it a lot last season with Rashford, where they made such a great partnership of that left-hand flank. So I think it comes down to confidence as well. And I hope that under Ten Hag he is able to re-emerge, because we've seen the kind of player he is. Even this season, we've seen the kind of player he is. So I hope he comes back, and I hope that if the fans can give players like Maguire a chance the way they have done, I hope that they can give Bruno a chance as well, because he deserves it, because he definitely deserves it.
Definitely. And you mentioned Ten Hag there, Shreyas. Adam, do you think Ten Hag will be good for Bruno Fernandes when he comes in? Do you think he'll be able to sort of rope that petulance in a little bit, and the way he loses the ball he's losing the ball, should we say, quite a lot at the minute in stupid areas?
Yeah, one of the players I always kind of bring into the equation when we mention Bruno and Ten Hag is what's his name? Dusan Tadic. They signed them.
I think you'll find it's Susan Tadic, mate. Make sure you get
Susan
it right.
Tadic, yeah. Yeah. He was a bit of a moaner as well when he was at Southampton, from what I remember. Like I remember playing them at Old Trafford. He might do a bit of diving. More often or not, he scored at Old Trafford. I think we lost was it back-to-back home games against them over the course of 2 seasons. Not a fun time. A lot more fun than at these times though. But if he can replicate like that sort of form that Dusan Tadic has brought to that Ajax team, because he's made him one of the best playmakers, arguably the best in Europe. He broke the assist record that Messi had. He's always up there with the most assists, and he's even grabbed some important goals as well in big games. So I think he could, if he coaches him in the same way he coaches Tadic, I think we have some player on our hands. We already know we have some player on our hands. The only issue I know is like, oh, Tadic, he's been moved out to the wing, but he's being played across the front three. They're always changing. He's played as a false nine. You know, if we have an issue with a striker, he could play there. Maybe he can actually make him better, because we've done it already. We played Bruno on a false nine. Hasn't really worked. But a bit of coaching and a bit of listening, he might do better. You said what was it like? What was the question you asked Shreyas again? It was like
the key to his downfall.
Yeah, key to his downfall. I think it's being surrounded by the rot that's there. Like, you're only as good as your best player or your worst player.
They kind of drag you down to their level.
They drag you down, yeah. Exactly. Because he came in and he was scoring for fun in the Portuguese league, and he brought that form into the Premier League, and we seen him smiling the whole time. He kind of lifted everyone as well that time, but since he's stayed here now, and there's been a bit of bit of doubt creeping into the dressing room now, a bit of toxicity. You've seen it now. He's completely just fallen down. His form is completely gone down the toilet. And I think that's what it is, being surrounded by this lot who need to get out.
I think his own attitude echoes petulance, obviously, as we know, but that's what worries me a little bit. Shreyas, do you think he's always been petulant and we just haven't noticed it because he was putting in good numbers? Obviously, under Ole, he was breaking records and shit, like he was on fire. So has he always been like that? I know it's more under the magnifying glass because of how bad we're doing. Do you think it's a case of that?
I mean, I would say that he wasn't really petulant. I think when he did start out, he was a lot more vocal, and in key areas, I would say he was vocal. He wasn't moaning, and he wasn't this frustrated at that time when he did come under Ole, because when he did come under Ole, he was potentially the contender for the next captain for us. He was that good, and he was that present during a game. And even I did see that under Ole, he used to be that player who used to get other players up whenever the decision didn't go our way. And I've seen that a lot. He used to do it with Rashford as well. He used to do it with a centre half as well. Whenever we conceded a goal, you would see Bruno around the pitch trying to get those players up. And I mean, this season, it just looks like even when the game starts, you can see that frustrated look on his face. I mean, like Adam mentioned, that he used to be that player who used to be smiling all the time. We haven't really seen him that way this season.
It just looks like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, doesn't it? Yeah. Like, it just looks all the time. It's kind of like it's such a bearing. And that's why I think not the contracts, the captaincy, he might have to give him a miss as well, because I think that would put extra, it'd put him even more in the magnifying glass. And we know how much of a hothead he is, so.
I mean, his body language is completely dropped as well, because you just don't see that Bruno Fernandes anymore whenever he's starting the game for us. I mean, last season, if the way he handled a penalty in that Arsenal game as well, last season you give him that penalty, he's going to bang that in without a shadow of a doubt. He was that good, and he was that accurate, and his precision, I would say, was really great as well last season. But this season, I don't know why, but it just looks like he's carrying a lot of pressure. He's trying too hard as well at times, and it just shows in his body language as well whenever he's playing for us. And I hope that he's able to come out of this, because we do need him next season as well, because he is going to be here for a while. He signed the deal. He's going to be here for a while. So I hope that it works out in a positive way, because we don't want the situation where a player like him just goes down the way other bright stars that we used to sign, they used to drop down as well. I don't want that happening to him.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's see what Ten Hag does with him. Now, obviously, Adam, he was given a contract extension before Ten Hag's even come in. Do we still think that's a good thing? And obviously, do we think Ten Hag definitely sanctioned that? Like, they spoke to Ten Hag about that before, obviously, doing the deal.
Bit of a weird one, because it feels like obviously he's been paid more, so it's bumped up his current deal, but it's almost like rewarding him for not playing well, because he hasn't played well this season. So I don't know why they've decided to do this now. I think they should have maybe waited till next season, because he still had a couple of years left on his deal. Yeah. And wait till the end of the season, maybe do it over the summer. But they can't work on more than one deal at once.
Exactly.
And that's even contracts within the club, not even contracts outside. So for me, I think it's a bit of a mistake. I know it might sound harsh, but I would have waited till probably the end of the summer, get the people you want in, maybe push up the competition into the squad, and try. And if he starts the season well, why not reward him?
And it does feel like they've rushed it a bit, doesn't it? Like, it does feel like that. He didn't need to rush it. He could have even waited till December. I know he was moaning that, the wage that he's on in comparison to the likes of Paul Pogba and David De Gea, and arguably, he's got a point in that, because he should be earning the same as them based on what he's done for the team since he's come in. So I completely understand that. But I, as a business thing, I would have just took a stand on it and said, look, we'll speak to you about your contract extension in December. That's the way it is. But he's not exactly going to be putting in worse performances than he is already. So I don't think it would have had much effect in regards to what he's doing on the pitch. But hey ho, I hope he comes back, because Bruno Fernandes has been one of my favourite players since we signed him in the January. When he came in, he hit the ground running. People was comparing him to Cantona in terms of the effect he had on the team. He was a catalyst. He was unreal, absolutely unbelievable. Like, assists and goals, he kept us relevant in the top 4 for 2 years under Ole. So I really hope he can come back to that standard. And it's not as if we haven't seen it, as you said before, Trey, as we've seen it at the start of the season, the first 4 or 5 months. That assist he did in the Champions League for Cristiano Ronaldo with the outside of his foot, absolutely. And that's what he's capable of. That's where his talent level is. We're not seeing it on a consistent basis like many other players. So yeah, thank you for sending that clip in, Danny. A bit of retail therapy, a bit of therapy. Sorry, on Bruno Fernandes. I'm thinking of
I had some retail therapy. I need it.
I was thinking of Central C song that stuck in my head. Some retail therapy. I don't know why I just said that, but yeah, thank you for sending that clip in. And our last clip of the day is from Ben Hemingway, and he's asking us about Cristiano Ronaldo. So let's see what he's got to say.
My name is Ben. Hello, my name is Ben. Do you want Cristiano Ronaldo to stay or go?
So very interesting. He asked us, guys, if we want Cristiano Ronaldo to stay or go. Big question. Controversial for some fans at the minute. But what I want to ask you, Shreyas, is, was it right bringing him back? Third top goal scorer in the league at the minute in the Prem at 37 years old. Seems to be doing all right, doesn't he?
Yeah. And the situation that we are in right now, I'm really happy that we did get him, because just imagine if we didn't have him.
Oh God,
we'd basically be without a striker.
Yeah,
and
I do not want to.
Not just being without a striker, you would see we wouldn't really be even 5th or 6th in the league right now. We would have been 11th or 12th easily, because he's clutched it out for us this season. I don't know on how many occasions, even in the Champions League. We wouldn't have made it out of the Champions League group stage either without him. So, and even at this age, he is the top goal scorer for us in every competition. The last 8 goals that United have actually scored, 7 of them have come out from Ronaldo, and 1 of them have been from Fed. So he's basically the only player who can actually score a goal for us. And he's still one of the best players in the world. You still see that in him. In a team which isn't really able to create, I would say, even 5 chances per game. He's basically 3rd in the Golden Boot race for the Premier League. And it just goes on to say that if he did manage, if things wouldn't have worked out our way and he did manage to go to City, he wouldn't really have just 21 or 22 goals by now. He would have been around the 30.
That would hurt so much, that if he went to City, they'd win like a treble or something, and he's the top goal scorer in the league. That would have been the worst. And forget everything that's happened this season. Imagine Ronaldo being a top goal scorer for Manchester City with everything that's happened now. Like, it would just be chaos, absolute chaos.
Exactly.
Oh,
so it's great that we were able to bring him back, but I would say a little bad for him as well, because the stage that he is at in his career, to make this comeback into this kind of a United squad, you would at least expect a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, who is one of the best players to ever play the game. You would at least expect these guys to at least give in like 5 to 4 good chances for him to deliver off. So, and he's been putting in a graveyard shift and still being able to score goals. And the strikers that we've had before that, they haven't really been able to cut that edge for us, not even near. So I still say that it's good that we got him. I would actually make him stay for us, because
make him stay.
Any striker that
yeah, you don't go anywhere. Shane Ronaldo up to the dressing room or next to yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to get if he is going to be able to get that captaincy as well. It wouldn't be that much of a shock for me, because we need, for captain, I would still say that in that locker room presently, we need a player who is able to set the standards and someone that these players are able to respond to as well. And right now, Bruno doesn't cut that mark. And potentially the only two guys that actually are there, one is Ronaldo and one is De Gea. So I would rather want Ronaldo to be in that captaincy spot, because he's won practically everything there is to win.
Yeah.
And he has that experience. And I would say if we are able to make him stay, whoever we sign, whether it's a Darwin Núñez or whoever the new striker we sign, I think if he is able to learn off a player like Ronaldo, we would have, I mean, we've seen clubs having those experienced players who are able to mentor the youngsters as well and help them get more polished and convert those raw players into finished players. And you need that kind of experience around the club, which we haven't really had over these years. So if Ronaldo is there, I wouldn't really mind it. And he could have a big role to play next season as well.
I think, like Rangnick, I don't think Ronaldo realised the issues that were deeper within the club, to be honest. He's thought, if you look at it outside looking in, before he went there, they just finished second. Then they're telling him, we're going to sign Rafael Varane and Jadon Sancho as well as you. He's probably thinking, mate, we could actually probably win a trophy here or something. We could do something special. And I'm coming back to the club, where I made myself a legend. Like, this is the perfect swan song, like the perfect fairy tale.
Yeah.
And it's the polar opposite of that, the absolute polar opposite of that. And I love how he brings an elite mentality, and he is an enigma, in it. Like, you just see him on the pitch, even like live, you just watch him, you're breathtaking, because he's just a god of football to me anyway, and always will be. But it's sad to see him in the squad that he's in a minute, because I feel like he hasn't had a squad fitted or molded around it. If you're going to sign Cristiano Ronaldo, you have a tailor-made team like City has now. That's why it would have been like absolutely smacking goals in for them. But yeah, I'm glad he hasn't gone City. But do you think, Adam, Ronaldo has an effect on the team? Does he have an effect on the team, or does the team drag him down?
It's a tough one. Like, these days he really relies on chance creation. Very seldom you see him actually pull the rabbit out of the hat, other than the free kick that time. Or he can single-handedly win you games at times, but he needs someone to make the killer pass or cross the ball in. And I think he's always
had. Sorry to interrupt you there. He's always had Modric behind him and people like that. Yeah. Really like world-class playmate. Ozil when he was there, Di Maria. These are the type of guys that were all topping the assist charts in world football in Europe. And now he's coming to, a squad now where even now Bruno Fernandes has been withdrawn slightly into that 8th position. Where's the creativity coming from? Jadon Sancho, that's it really. Seems to have like an okay partnership with him. But apart from that, like we do like creativity at the best of times.
And especially down the wings. Our lot can't cross the ball at all. And this is probably the best header of the ball in history. Yeah, 100%. And I think we haven't seen enough goals from headers from him. I think I can remember the Spurs one. I can remember the Atlanta one. And
Villarreal as well.
Villarreal, last minute winner. Like there hasn't been that many. And that's the problem. So I said it before, and I said it earlier. It's you're only as good as your worst player, and we've a lot of bad players in this team that need to be pulled out, because they're making one of the best players in history almost look average. But the fact he's still put numbers up like that, still scoring over 20 goals for probably the worst Manchester United squad ever. It's
impressive.
It's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I've criticised him, earlier on in the year when he went through that bad patch. And look, everyone might look at bring that up now to me and be like, "Well, you were slagging him off or whatever, blah blah." you criticize a player off the form that they're in. You can't just, you know what I mean? Like, people have dips and stuff. You're obviously going to be critical when they're up. Well, not critical, but you're going to praise them when they're up, like I am now. Like, he's been phenomenal recently. You're going to criticize him when they're down. That's just life of a footballer. Like, it's going to happen all the time. But Shreyas, with Ten Hag coming in the summer, do you think he'll use him? And how would you use him next to a young striker like a Darwin Núñez or something? How would you make that work?
I mean, if you still see the way Ten Hag plays, Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the best target mans there is, even at this age. So he practically checks all the boxes for Ten Hag, I would say. I mean, Sebastian Aller isn't really one of the fastest strikers in Europe, and he's still putting out crazy numbers in the Dutch league, even in the Champions League. So if he is able to recreate that system at United with Ronaldo being up front, I mean,
why not?
It's the same case. Yeah, it's the same case that we would be saying about City, that if we went to City, he would be doing the same thing for them. It's going to be the same way for us, but it just needs to be the system that gets implemented here. And if we do get Darwin Núñez or whoever the next young striker is going to be, if you're going to be learning off Ronaldo, we basically know that this player is going to come off as a polished player. He knows the ins and outs. He knows how to be a target man. He knows the qualities. And if you're learning off one of the best strikers that the game has ever seen, it definitely has an effect on you. And it just comes down to as how the player as well perceives it, a youngster perceives it, because right now even Rashford is young, but he didn't really take that criticism in a positive way. So it also has to come down to the attitude of the young player that comes in. If he is able to take that criticism in a positive way, I think it would work really, really well. And we've seen that in players like we've had Wayne Rooney. He used to get a lot of slander from Sir Alex as well, and after that he used to just come out like a madman. So we need that.
What we do for a Wayne Rooney right now in our team, what we could fucking do with that.
Yeah.
Especially when he had his skinhead, when he had a proper bald head, like that kind of Wayne Rooney. That's the mentality you need in that squad.
Exactly. So if we are able to get, whoever we get, we are able to go about that in a much positive way, I think it could work really well. And having that kind of a figure at a club actually helps out a lot as well, because you still have that authority around if you're a Cristiano Ronaldo in that locker room, because he's pretty much one of the best that there is. So if you can't respect him, then there is no question about your I would say attitude towards the club, even towards your fellow teammates, which we have been seeing for quite some time in our club, be it Harry Maguire, be it Marcus Rashford, or a few other players as well. So it's time that we are able to get this locker room together on the same page as well. And these leaks and these players who are just moaning on the bench as well, creating a toxic environment, I think it's time for them to pack up their bags and leave, because for the youth players that we've got coming in as well, we need a good ecosystem for them to thrive in as well.
Yeah.
If you throw youngsters in such a toxic environment, it's going to hamper their development as well, because they aren't really getting the best platform for development. So it's better that we are able to root out these problems and just let go of them, because it's high time. It's at this point, it could be a situation where this could turn out to be the season where we get the least points possible in the Premier League history. So it's time that we take this a lot more seriously, and I guess getting Ten Hag would be doing a lot of favors to us. So it's going to be really interesting, and I do hope that Ten Hag is able to get the best out of Ronaldo off the pitch and even on the pitch.
Absolutely. And in a hypothetical world, if he was to leave, I keep like flip-flopping on this, because I'm thinking, right, he's definitely going to leave now after all that. And I'm like, well, maybe he'll stay next year. I'm in between it. But in a hypothetical world, if he was to leave, is there anywhere else he could go, and who would pay his wages?
The only one I can really think of is PSG. Really, that's really it. Like, they're desperate for a Champions League, and we've seen what he done for us in the Champions League. He can still do it on the night. He can pull you through to the next round, or you can win your points in the group stage. We know I think, is it from next year, or is it in 2 years the whole competition is changing? So I think Is that
Yeah, I don't know the
2024,
specific time,
Yeah.
but I know you're on about
Yeah.
it. It's
Okay.
changing in a few
Yeah.
years, I think.
All right. So they might see it as, okay, here's a chance to get this guy before the whole thing changes. This could be one of our last chances to get it before the whole, competition is restructured. So maybe they could be someone that could go in that definitely can afford it. So could you see Messi and Ronaldo, together in the same
you know
team?
what? If I look at it from a logical sense, I don't see much logic in it. I get why PSG would do it. It's that kind of signing they would go for, that Galactico kind of guy. But first of all, for Ronaldo and Messi, I don't think they would want to play on the same team. I think in their heads, they still equally want to win more Ballon d'Ors and want to win all the best achievements. And I think if you put them in the same team together, I think there'd be a clash there. Naturally, I don't know what it is. I just think there'd be a massive clash there. Would I love to see them play in the same team together? Absolutely, I would love to see. Not forget Neymar. I'm not even asked about Neymar. I think he's leaving it anyway. But I would love to see Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi in the same team. And if Mbappe leaves, they could definitely afford it 100%.
Yeah.
Wage off the bill.
They could do it, especially what they were offering Mbappe. They can more than afford it.
Yeah.
I just think with I don't know if he's a sporting director or something. I think it's Leonardo leaving and there's a couple others leaving. I'm not sure if they want to go down the same route with the Galacticos. I think they might change the transfer strategy up, similar to what we're doing. But we seem to have a lot of similarities with PSG. It's very weird. But yeah,
that's to maybe get someone from us.
Oh yeah, they can take any player they want. Take your pick, mate. You can have whoever the fuck you want. Yeah.
For Ronaldo, though, I feel like he doesn't want to be remembered as a failure anytime he's come to a club, he's won a trophy. So I think he wants to stick around and he wants to be seen as this guy who's pulled Manchester United out of the depths of hell.
That would be nice. It would be nice to see him next season, even if we win like an FA Cup under Ten Hag. And look, I'm not expecting anything major. Like, don't get me wrong, because there's so many issues at this club. But if Ten Hag was to come in, we start to see a really nice style of play. Players working for each other in the team, really grafting hard. Ronaldo scoring important goals and win some form of cup, whether that's the FA Cup, League Cup, whatever. Then that would be for the United fans, you can't really ask for much more than that, considering the current situation that we're in.
Yeah.
So Ronaldo, in general, I'd say he's been good for us, because if we didn't have him this year, with everything that's happened, we'd be really fucked, really fucked. But I think we only signed him because Man City were going in for him, and obviously we couldn't allow that happen. Can you imagine the PR around that? And I think we didn't have a squad in place to suit him systematically. So yeah, that's my take on it. But that is the show wrapped up, guys. It's gone absolutely a million miles an hour. But yeah, for anyone who's watching, let us know in the comment section if you've enjoyed this one, because we're going to start doing more stuff, more interactive stuff like this, where viewers can get involved and have their say. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Got a jam-packed schedule. Yeah, that button down there. Got a jam-packed schedule this week with lots of content, so there's something to watch every single day, as always. And if you want to follow us on social media for regular news updates and clips and stuff like that, just go on TikTok, Insta, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere. We're absolutely everywhere, and just type in Real Reds Talk and you should be able to find us. And thank you, lads, for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Feel like, again, it's been a bit of a therapy session. We've got some stuff off our chest. Spoke some absolute facts and brought up some really good points. So yeah, thank you for joining me. It's been really fun, and I'll see you in the next one, lads.
Right. See you guys.
Peace.